Yo, my name is Jude. If this is your first time here, I'm a storyteller through design, film, and sound. And this is Jazz and Azonto. It's a mini series where I explore the juxtapositions, yet the commonalities in my creative practice. So today we're talking about what makes your art truth or what makes your art real. Somewhat of a direct retort to the massive rise of AI, especially AI in art, and how that's kind of creeped into every single space: Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, Behance, I don't know. All these areas that have been used as somewhat of a portfolio slash showcase of people's art, right? The question that I asked myself was, does this still fall under the classification of what art is? I'll read what the definition of art is, and then we can kind of go from there. What is art? According to AI, it says it's a broad term encompassing diverse human activities, emphasis on human, right, that involve creative and imaginative expression, often evoking aesthetic or emotional responses, right? So I think some of the keywords that I'd pull from this is probably the human and obviously the emotional responses, which are two things that I guess AI objectively struggles to do, you know, because it's not human, so whatever. Anyway, just to bring it home a bit and to ground it in my personal creative practice, what makes my art true, I guess, is the level of subjectivity that is attached to it, right? It's a very unique perspective. It's my perspective. It can't necessarily be replicated yet anyway. Just because every human being has a unique perspective, it allows them the first, I guess, tick box of what it would take in order to create art that is true in the context of what we're having a conversation about, right? Some people might take the more Descartes approach. In this particular scenario, it exists, therefore it's real, allows room for the conversation about AI to come in, which is, well, if it's in the world or if it warrants emotional responses from human beings, then it is art. It's a very, very slippery slope, if you ask me personally, because then it just means that anything that is generated as opposed to created, artists or creative people, right, are a summation of what they like, their influences, their, you know, their experiences, and so on and so forth, right? And that's what then is churned and regurgitated as art. What a person feels isn't always directly translated, right? It isn't always directly translated. Someone can feel something like grief, and it might not translate in the same way that someone else's grief might translate, right? Because again, it's a very subjective thing. For me personally, in my creative practice, I think that it's very important that there is a level of embedding of one's soul into their art, right? What I mean by that is that essentially is like your signet. That's the thing that makes people feel something. It's that innate connectivity that comes from what we perceive as good art or true art or real art, right? And without that, that makes your art untrue. Your art becomes soulless. And this can go both for human beings as well as AI. Even as at the stage that AI is right now, especially with generating art and so on and so forth, there is still a massive level of human input that it requires in order to churn out whatever it does, right? And that's where I struggle with, because someone could argue that that is still a level of embedding of the soul. I would struggle to kind of like reason with that personally, but I could see why someone would make an argument for that. The question I guess I would ask when it comes to trying to decipher what art is real and what art is true and what art isn't, is how does it make you feel, right? Once you figure out how it makes you feel, that would be a clear signifier for if that art is real or true. Because I'll be honest, not all art is real or true for everyone. Some art doesn't resonate with everybody, right? It might just resonate with you on a good day, on a bad day. Some art you need to catch at the right time. And I think a perfect example of that is music. Sometimes if you listen to music at the perfect time, it becomes something that is very soul-wrenching. You feel that much more connected to it. Some music requires the perfect setting in order to connect the way the artist intended for that music to connect. So those are my thoughts on what makes your art real or truth. Let me know what you guys think. This has been another episode of Jazz and Azonto. I will see you next week.